If you ain't a Gator, you must be Gator bait. If you ain't a Gator, you must be Gator bait.
Welcome back and welcome in. I got a very, very special guest. This is David Waters from Gators Breakdown, a guy I've been listening to for an extremely long time. I really appreciate you coming on, bro. Truly, it really does mean a lot. So if you want to introduce yourself, let people know where they can find you. I know we usually do at the end, but that way people can go subscribe.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a while now. So it's 2016. So I think it's the 9th year, but the 10th season covering Florida football in Gators Breakdown format. But yeah, everybody, you can follow me at Gator Dave _SEC on social media. Follow Gators Breakdown on YouTube, podcast platforms as well. But looking forward to the season. We're officially game week now, so it's here. It's here for this what should be an exciting season.
I think it will be, which we start this off. Every guest I have to ask, same with you, who is your favorite Gator of all time?
Ooh. You think you had this at the top of your mind,
I know.
and then it's like, you can say Tebow because of everything he did, and but it is that around that same. It is that same team. I am honestly always torn between Tim Tebow and Percy Harvin.
Understood.
So
Yeah.
it's one day it's Tebow, one day it's Harvin. Somebody will share highlights on social media. Oh yeah, that's why he's my favorite player. And then somebody else will share a Tebow highlight. That's why, yeah. So it's honestly between those two. Tebow for everything he did, of course, but just, to me, Percy is just the pure best football player I think Florida may have ever had. So it's just thankfully they played together and we got to see it. But it's definitely one of those two.
I'm fully on the. I believe this within myself, and I will always argue it to the death of me. If Percy does not go to the NFL, we have another one. So I got a couple questions for you here because I want to see just kind of how you feel about it, which I think this is perfect talking about the 08 team. This team this season, where do you rank this team? And I know it's a preseason hype and we saw last year, I think there was a lot of hype going in, but I think it's a different atmosphere and a different feeling this season because of the last half of last season. But where do you put this season, preseason hype right now, depth and all amongst the teams of the last, say, 25 years?
Well, you go 08, 06, you go 09. I mean, just that whole stretch there. You go the crazy 2020 year, which a team that should have been a whole lot better than it was.
Right.
So heading into the season behind those, of course, let's say 25 years. So 2001 team, it's up there. Another team that was better than their record indicated. So you're behind those as well. But then Ron Zook comes in, of course, after 01, and then a bunch of 8 and 5s. I think this team should be better than any of those. Urban's first year was a pretty good team, a really, really good defense while they're figuring the offense out with Chris Leak. So, maybe somewhere in that range coming into the season of a first-year Urban Meyer. And that 2019 team for Dan Mullen was really, really good. Your only losses are LSU and Georgia that year. Both teams that played for the SEC championship. The LSU team's one of the greatest teams in college football in the last 25 years. when you go and look at it, maybe ever. Heading into the season, certainly behind all those I just named, I hope when it's all said and done, they're up there. Your top 5 around those teams. And that should get you pretty far because they're just good teams I mentioned. Teams that are winning the national championship, teams that were in the SEC championship. Preseason wise, top 10-ish.
Yeah.
And they can and if it plays out like we think it can be, it can go higher.
Yeah. I think that's kind of where I'm at with it too, is with the preseason hype is extremely real, and I've said it. I'm not going to tell anyone we're going to lose a game until we've lost the game. Like, we're going undefeated, and that's all there is to it. And this is the greatest team that's going to ever touch down in the swamp. I'm going to hype them as much as I can. But I really, in all reality, the crazy thing about it is that I think, for example, the Dan Mullen-led team, that team that we thought was going to win a national championship, the Kyle Trask, the Kyle Pitts, I definitely feel like that team was very just above the water good. Like, there was not a whole lot of depth. And when it kind of fell down to it, I think that Dan Mullen was really good at knowing how to coach up Kyle Trask. I mean, there was depth, but I feel like this team here, I've talked about it, I feel like you can replace outside of quarterback. You can replace any spot on this team, and I feel like someone's going to come in and be productive on this team. That's the big part for me why I feel like this team is there is so much hype. It's just how many people that we have that it's just, you got Jaden Woods who's sitting there, and our D-line room is stacked, and it's looking like, well, how do you keep him off the field? Receiver room stacked, and it's like, well, how do you keep, Nashawn Montgomery off the field? All these different players, and I'm like, that's why I look at it, and that's why the question kind of struck me last night. I was like, I got to ask that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because you've obviously been covering a long time, and I haven't done podcasts a long time, but I've been watching a long time. Yeah. And I'm just like, man, just looking at it top to bottom, like, this team, there is so much talent. And maybe this is coming from the Florida Gators goggles that I got on, but I just feel like this team there's something special brewing there. Like, truly.
And it's taken a while. This is a lot of developed talent as well. And the recruiting talent's been okay, but you're still not Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. You're still not there, but you do have, now you pair it with the experience of those guys that have been here, and that should close the gap that has been somewhat, when you just look at pure recruiting rankings. If you want to go into that probably still lags behind those big time schools, but then you offset that with a 5-star quarterback like DJ Lagway, and pair that with all the experience like Florida has, and you go back to that 2020 team. If we go back to this time, heading into that season, we didn't know that defense was going to fall off of a cliff. Now, don't get me wrong. Right. A lot of people were still not big Todd Grantham fans, but the 18-19 defenses were not that bad.
Right.
And then they just fall off of a cliff in 2020.
Yep.
I hope that, that was unforeseen. We knew they had room to grow. It was my whole thing was, can the defense just get better to play with the elite teams? Well, exactly. They didn't do that. They just completely didn't play with anybody in 2020. Exactly. So it's now, hopefully there's no unforeseen drops with this team like 2020, like we just didn't see with that defense. But going to that point, I think this team can be deeper than that team, and certainly on defense. I do think they are deeper on that side of the ball. So like I said, I think hopefully when this is all said and done, I'm putting this team ahead of that 2020 team.
I agree. And I think the thing with it too is kind of in where I can somewhat ease my mind is, like you said, we know those 18 and 19 defenses, they were talented. Then the 2020 is just like, was a complete just roller coaster drop down, like out of nowhere. Whereas I don't feel like the last couple of years, no one was like, oh, Florida's defense. But I feel like this year they are starting to they're getting that hype, but everything revolved around Florida is DJ Lagway or a Dallas Wilson. That's the outside media, not within the Gators fans. It would not shock me if come the end of the season, playoffs, whatever the case may be of where we get to, that they go, yeah, Florida's defense carried that team most of the season. And not in the sense of that I don't think that Lagway go out there and put up 40 points a game. I just feel like this defense is something that's going to be extremely, extremely special. Like, that D-line room is just, I think they are going to cause a whole lot of problems this season.
Yeah. Kind of going to your point of all the outside perception and DJ Lagway. Lagway deserves a lot of kudos. Certainly. I think he was a spark with this team. Mm-hmm. This team doesn't win those November games without this defense. I mean, this defense played so much better, came such a long way than what we saw at the beginning of the season. And I mean, that November run was special. Like, you saw the signs of the defense getting better after the Miami, after the Texas A&M games. Now, some of that was opponent-based. UCF's offense didn't have a passing attack whatsoever. Tennessee's offense with Nico could not hit anything down the field. So, I think you caught some breaks as you were getting better at the same time. And I think that really paid dividends, I think, to give that team some confidence. I was like, hey, maybe these games still aren't going our way. We barely lost to Tennessee. We turned Georgia over like crazy, and Carson Beck throwing interceptions. We still came out on the short end, but I do think, hey, we're playing better. It gave them some confidence that once DJ Lagway did come back after that Texas game, that defense just took another step against even better offenses. I think they got their confidence up in that stretch in the middle of the season. Yeah, those offenses weren't good, but it gave them a chance to get some confidence up that I really think went a long way in November. And hopefully that November stretch is another step in giving them confidence for a now entire season for 2025.
Right. Another thing, when you look at any Gators defenses that have been great in the past, I feel like a big thing, and I feel like it's a key word that it just sticks out in my mind with that defense, is just they had so much swagger to them. Just so much swagger to them. I mean, going up there with the Vernon Hargraves defenses, I mean, they're pre-snap, he's out there dancing and, I mean, they're just vibing with each other. That's the vibe I'm getting from this defense this year. Is I'm like, I feel like you're going to see the Tyreek Sapps. You're going to see, the George Gums. You see kind of everyone's gelling, everyone's kind of clicking, things like that. But that's the main thing for this team is I think we got to have the defense get the ball back. You cannot sit there and ask, Lagway and co to move the ball 70, 80 yards every single time that they touch the ball. Get them a short field a couple of times a game, and let's flip the field. I think that's where you need your scores. Give them a 30-yard, 30 yards to a touchdown, 40 yards to a touchdown. Let's flip that narrative of, okay, we're getting the punch, but we're having to move. DB. Oh, what'd you say?
I lost you for a sec. There it is.
Okay, yeah, I say you froze too.
Okay.
I think the big thing is, you're lagging again. Can you hear me?
Nope,
you hear me?
Now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my big thing is I want to see this team get that ball back. I want to see the Devin Moores, the Cormanis, Bryce Thornton. He's a ball hawk out there. And I think I've talked about this just recently. This defensive line is going to help get that ball back. They're going to put quarterbacks in uncomfortable situations. The ball is going to be put in the air. I mean, even you can tell Miles Graham can go out there and intercept the ball. Yeah. I really think that this defense has a chance of, like I said, at the end of the season, I think Lagway is going to be great. He's going to stay healthy. I'm not even going to speak on any negative on him. But I do feel like the defense is going to get that ball back, and we're going to score quite a bit because of that. Not necessarily because, Lagway's throwing 70-yard bombs out there. You know what I'm saying? Oh, dang. Let me see.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Napier said it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I'm back. Yeah. I mean, Napier said it this past week. They're on the mission to build a championship defense. They haven't had that since he's been here.
Yep.
So that's just been something that they've been working towards. And it's just been DC after DC, Patrick Toney to Austin Armstrong, and now bringing Ron Robertson, and he's the voice now. And certainly I think somebody who has got the confidence of the team. So it's certainly something that they've been building towards. And I think now we'll see it pay its dividends this season. But certainly it was such a huge get to bring back Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks. I mean, they just need it. That's one reason I think we can feel confident is you bring those guys back. And now we'll see about the depth behind them. Maybe I think we feel good, but it's still something we haven't seen yet. There's some guys names that we're going just to have to see. But it took a bit for us to see Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks last year as well. So hopefully those guys can play and play a lot while those other guys are coming up behind them. But the Mekhi Burrows and Brendan Bett, the transfer from Baylor, and then how deep we think we are at edge, and I think we are. I really think Florida's got a lot of dudes at that edge spot. But I think Tyreek Sapp, George Gums going to lead that group, and feel really, really good about that front line. Hopefully they stay healthy, but if not, maybe those guys will be ready toward the end of the beginning of the season, and you got some lighter opponents to get their feet wet. But
right,
I'm ready to see those leaders step up and then just kind of bring those other guys along.
So speaking of that line, what are you hearing about the Caleb Banks and the LJ McCrays? I know they're dealing with some lingering injuries. Are they going to be ready for week 1? Are we going to rest them? I mean, do you know anything on that end? Because someone asked it in the comments, and I'm curious too, just what it's looking like. Because I want everybody clicking. When we're going into LSU, I need everybody to at least have some in-game reps.
Yeah, Caleb, for Banks, I think it's a lot more precautionary than anything from everything I can gather. I don't know what that means for game 1. I mean, I could see where it's just hold him out because they did a lot of it in the springtime. They've done some in the fall camp as well. I don't. It's different than quarterback. I want Lagway playing against Long Island. Not a lot, but I want him. And plus, he's missed a lot more time. So I want him out there. Somebody like Caleb Banks, he doesn't have to play against Long Island. I'm okay. So if they want to hold him out, sure. I think he can play if he really wanted to. I just don't think it's absolutely necessary for Florida to play him. So for him, I think he'll be A-okay. For McCray, I think it'll be a little while longer. Probably maybe conference play, LSU, Miami games. What he suffered was a scare. They thought it was going to be a lot worse than it actually was. He gets some scans back. You get some good news there from LJ McCray saying not a season ender, but he will miss a little window of time. So somebody we're certainly looking for taking a step in his second season, have that 5-star label on him. So you're kind of just waiting for him to kind of live up to that 5-star potential, but a little setback right now. Thankfully, Jaden Woods is coming along, so maybe it's something you were going to lose in LJ McCray. You kind of now get it back with a true freshman that's on the rise as well. But a little while for him, I think, for LJ McCray. So maybe starting the first few weeks without him.
Okay, yeah. I was wondering because you see it, and I mean, I've talked about it too. I think the boot thing, I mean, it's a medical university, so I'm like, maybe they're trying something. I don't know. Like I've said, you get on X and you read about this team, and it's going to you're going to be in a full-blown panic when you exit out of that app, or you just really are good at just tuning stuff out. But I feel like if they're not going to practice anyways, they're not going to play, put the boot on them. It's a little extra precaution. Like you said, the LJ McCray is a little different, but Caleb Banks, I think the hard cast being on Dallas Wilson, he's a young buck, and I think that they looked at it as when he goes back to his house or his apartment, is he going to keep this soft cast on? And that's just me just looking from the outside in and just kind of feeling that way about it, I guess. But I'm not too worried. There's a lot of depth on this team, and I really believe, again, outside of Lagway, I think that we can keep the train rolling and keep moving, into the season. But again, coming LSU time, I want everybody clicking on all measures because I'm like, guys, we got some. But that going into the next part of this, do you, with the LSU game, game 3, which is, as a Gators fan, is very, very strange to me because I'm used to it always being in October. But what games do you think this season, what game do you think is like you have to win that game? And then which game do you think is our toughest game? And they can be the same, but
they are different for me. I said this earlier in the offseason, and it caught some people the wrong way. I say the most wins game is Miami in some ways. I think when you get to the end of the year and the College Football Playoff Committee's looking at Florida, and look, I don't think Florida's going undefeated, and I don't even know if any team's going undefeated. That's not a hit on Florida. I think the top of the teams have come back down to the pack a little bit in this college football season. So I don't think anybody's going undefeated. Mm-hmm. I think when Florida's and some of the other SEC teams are going to have, some I think losses. I think there's going to be a little more respect in losing to SEC teams than Florida losing to Miami team. Like if Florida goes to Miami and loses that game, now maybe it depends on what happens against LSU the week before that too. Yeah. But I know when the committee gets together on Florida's resume, I don't want to see a Miami loss. I think that can hurt Florida in the end. If Florida's 9-3, I think they're making it anyway. But I think if Florida's 9-3 and there's a loss to Miami on that, then I can see that really hurting Florida in the end. If there's a 9-3 LSU and their losses are all SEC teams, or there's a 9-3 South Carolina and all their losses to SEC teams, and if the SEC lives up to the reputation that we think they can be this year, then yeah, and add a conference loss to Miami might end up hurting you more than anything. So it would depend on who the other losses to. Does Florida have a win over number 1 Texas in there too at the same time? Maybe that balances it out. But I'm just trying to look at it as a broad stroke measure. I do not want a loss to Miami on the resume.
No, that's a very valid point. Especially if they lose to Notre Dame week 1.
Right.
That hurts us more. That's a very valid point.
So, but then if you lose to LSU and it's a decision between 9-3 LSU and a 9-3 Florida, well, head to head. So maybe beating LSU is important. You can break it down so many ways in what game is more important. What game do you really want to win? I also want to beat Miami just because of the revenge factor from last year. You can't lose that team 2 years in a row. You can't lose that program 2 years in a row. We've seen 41-17 for a year now. It's time to move past that.
If we lose them again, I'm deleting Twitter. I'm just deleting it. I can't read any more of it. So that was your must-win game right there.
That was my must-win game.
Okay.
Miami. What was the other one? Biggest win or most important?
The toughest game.
The toughest game.
Yeah.
It's got to be a road game. I know Texas is the top, might be number 1 when they roll in. That game being at home, I don't know if it's going to be the toughest. We've seen Billy Napier's issue as a head coach on the road.
Right.
He cannot beat a good team on the road. He's just yet to do it as Florida's head coach. So it's got to be a road game. I'll probably will still go LSU game 1, first road game. I think that might be the toughest game because it is going to be at night. It is going to be Death Valley at night. Mm-hmm. LSU's either going to be coming in 2 weeks after a big win over Clemson or picking up the pieces, all hands on deck. We're already fighting for our life. We got to get a win over Florida because we lost to Clemson. So I think either way, and it's because it's a road game, I think LSU is going to be the toughest one just because there's so many ways for LSU to be looking at that game. It's either continue a hot streak or we're fighting for our playoff lives already in the 3rd game of the season.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of weight on that game.
That's a good point. I've asked this question, and then I feel like you can go back to the last 3 videos, and it's been pretty much the same, but I have been saying that the must win is LSU.
Yeah.
But I can't lie, you kind of changed my mind a little bit. You got me swaying Miami. But also I feel like Georgia's a big one. And the reason being, and it's not even in the sense, I think beating Georgia this season is more than people see. It's not even just a playoff at the end of the season. I think it's a recruiting thing that is for time to come. Mm-hmm. Is that you have to be, because they've beat us out on quite a few guys. And yeah, we get them here and there, but no, we got to start. We either got to be right here with them, or we need to be just a little bit above them to where it's okay, now we have the upper hand for, the next 5-6 years. They've had their run. Okay, now let's switch this back to ours. So I think that's why Georgia I'm starting to sway back more to it. It's so hard because that stretch there. But again, like you said, you have to go in there because we're going to beat the first 2 teams. That's a given. But that LSU game, I think, kind of going to your point, I've been saying LSU, but I do think if the committee looks at it and they go, okay, Florida lost to LSU, it was in Death Valley, it's a night game. Mm-hmm. I think that holds a little bit more weight to them where they're like, okay, we understand. As long as it's a close loss, right. And I'm not giving participation trophies, but as long as it's a close loss, I think they can understand that. But I'm sticking to my toughest game being Texas A&M. I think it's right there at the end of that stretch of a gauntlet that you're going to go through. You have to go out to A&M. Yeah, and I could see it. Honestly, that being, if we somehow get through that stretch there, we're undefeated going into Texas A&M. If we are undefeated going into Texas A&M, we're a top 5 team. That's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We've beat a Texas. We've beaten LSU. Yeah. That could be that trap game that you see us, drop one right there. And we've seen it before in 06, 08. You saw us drop a game. That could be the one, but I don't know.
Hey, personally for me, it's always Georgia. I mean,
of course,
I grew up in Georgia. I hate that team more than anything.
I can respect that.
But also, I did talk about this. If you want to look at it, I mean, this is probably the closest it's been between Florida and Georgia in quite some time. Like you've got to take advantage of that. I mean, the gap has closed a bit. Yeah, they still recruit, but it is with all the experience of Florida coming back and the superstar quarterback. It is time. It is time to change the fortunes of that game. So I saw it in the chat, and a lot of people have been asking this. If not now, when? Because it's just you feel good about where Florida's at. So it is time to go to Jacksonville and get the win.
Right. I will say this. This is something that I've been, and I see it, and I understand where, like, the thought and the idea is coming from of, like, well, this is a year we have to do it. And I'm like, me personally, I don't like that mindset because what I fully believe is, and of course, I want this to be the year, but I don't want to look at it as like, this is a year we have to do it. Like we're an Auburn team with Cam Newton, or we're this team that's going to make one run and then we're going to go back to the 7 and 5s. And I don't want to look at it like that. I believe that Billy is building a squad here. And yes, I think that this is a year to make a splash. I don't think this is like the year that's like, we have to win the national championship this year or we're never going to win it. I think that this is a detrimental year in the sense of you have to win a lot of ball games this year to change that narrative of, okay, Florida football is back. Now these recruits want to come here, and we keep building this machine that we're trying to keep well-oiled and keep moving forward. But I don't like the thought of, well, we lose a lot of seniors next year. No, okay, yeah, this is a year that we have to prove it, but I don't think like this is the only year that we have. You know what I mean?
And I get that too, especially with Lagway, because you have a quarterback like him, you have a chance,
of course.
And at the same time, is hopefully you catch a schedule break next week or next year. Can it be this hard for 3 years in a row? And I know we all know about the 9-game format now and how will that change, and the 3 permanent opponents, who's that going to be, and how the rotation sets up. So look, you go into 9 conference games, it's going to be tough anyway. And one of Florida's is going to be Georgia for sure. So they're not coming off the schedule. But then when you're rotating every other opponent every year, it's going to be tough again. But hopefully in some ways it's not as tough as what Florida has faced the last couple of years. So paired with Lagway coming back, a lot of experience. You'll have some experience coming back next year too. Maybe not so much in the trenches, but you'll still have a good bit coming back next year at the same time. And then pair that with a hopeful schedule, a schedule break that you can kind of. And we don't even know what the college football playoff format is going to be. It could be 16 teams next year.
Changing.
So, I agree with you. You don't want to punt on after this year because of everything that has us excited for 2025. But at the same time, it is, I think you can put a pin on a game like Georgia and say, hey, it's just time.
Right. And I agree with that. Like, I definitely think it's time to change the narrative of, I keep seeing, these different Gator Instagram accounts share, like where Steve Spurrier said about Tennessee, like 7 and 5 is a great season for them. Like, his comments. And I'm like, well, that kind of hits a little too close to home because of last season. And I'm like, if we're just being honest with it, and I want to see us I want 10-win season at least. We got to do it to show something. But with the 9-game season, who do you want to see our 3 set opponents be? If you could pick who they're going to be.
In a utopia where, Florida's just the best team and it doesn't matter. Georgia, Tennessee, and Auburn. But because look, Auburn is the second most team Florida's played. It's the second closest drive from Gainesville in the SEC. Now we at least get to play them every other year.
Yeah.
With this new schedule format. Auburn's not going to be on it. That's who I would want, but it's not. They're not going to give Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida every year. They're just not. No. Nor should they. So realistically, I can see Georgia's certainly going to be on there. I do think they give us Tennessee. I don't think they give us LSU. I think it'd be Georgia, Tennessee, and then South Carolina probably.
Okay.
I can see that. If not South Carolina, Kentucky. I'm in that little group of teams. But just for fun, I'll predict Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina for Florida. And you go down a rabbit hole when you start looking at it because, you know, like I said, with the Auburn situation, they're not going to give all those three schools to Auburn to play every year. And you start looking at Alabama, well, Auburn's going to be on there.
Got to be.
Tennessee's going to be on there.
Got to be.
So who's their third? They're not going to give them LSU, I don't think, even though we love Bama LSU now. You can't give Bama all three of those opponents.
I feel like Bama's third is going to be Vanderbilt, probably.
Yeah, right. It could be something like that.
Yeah.
And then you look, so you go down to, now we go to Tennessee. Well, if Tennessee's permanent, Alabama's going to be their permanent too. So Vanderbilt, Kentucky, to me, is probably going to have to be their third because there's still somewhat of a rivalry between those programs and stuff. So you go down this rabbit hole and you start saying, okay, well, I can see this three, but then, never mind, I can't see that third for that team because it makes their schedule too tough every year. So they're going to, you read the rules and they're going to try and keep rivalries as much as they can, but also some balance to it. So that's why I don't think Auburn's going to get those three schools on their schedule every year. Florida's not going to be filled with Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee. You know, I think they'll give Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky to kind of balance it out a little bit. So there's a lot of good ways to look at it. But as I said, and going back to one point before, it doesn't, in some ways it does matter. There are teams you do want to play every year. Florida, Georgia is one of them for Florida. You at least are going to play the teams every other year. So, you might miss it 1 year, but you're going to get that opponent back the next year. So, I like the way it will be set up for on a rotational basis, and we get to see more of these SEC games that Georgia has not been to Texas A&M since Texas A&M has come in the conference.
Right.
2012. Georgia has yet to play in College Station. That one I'll be taken care of. Florida and Auburn barely play anymore. Florida, Mississippi State didn't play for forever until, just the way it worked out. So, at least now, I know 9 games. A lot of people don't like going to 9 games. I like it in a way that we do get to see us play our SEC rivals a whole lot more.
Right. See, I think, me personally, I think it's going to be, I want it to be Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky being our 3. That's preferred. But I feel for some reason it's going to end up being, and I don't know why I feel this way. I think just because of like the last maybe 15 years or so, I think it's going to be Georgia, LSU, Kentucky. I hope not. I mean, I'm fine if we can take a break from playing LSU. I feel like that always gets rough. But I think the tough part about it for me is like if a team beats us the next year, I'm like, I want to play them again. Like, let's get that right back. I'm very impatient, and I don't want to wait 2 years to end up getting it back. But you're right. I think the tough part is because Florida being a blue blood in the SEC and just being from the OGs, you throw in the Texas and the Oklahoma. And so you're kind of like, you want to, fight with them a little bit. Like, no, you don't get to face those guys every year. We get to face them every year because those have been our rival. Yeah. Everybody's going to want to see, like a Texas, Georgia every year or a Texas, Bam every year. And I think that, Florida is going to put themselves in that mix this year with wins. They're going to want to see Florida play whoever. I just feel like how you said it, like you hit the nail on the head. How do you line this up? Because someone's going to get upset. Like there's a fan base that's going to get upset. Like, how did we lose that game? And so, me personally, I don't care what.
Take Texas for example. Yeah, take Texas for example. Mm-hmm. They're going to have Oklahoma for sure.
Exactly.
You just got Texas and Texas A&M. You just got Texas and Texas A&M back. That's going to be every year. So Texas is going to have Oklahoma and Texas A&M for sure. So
which is fine.
It's funny how it's all going to work out. Yeah, it's fine. But then you give them Mississippi State after that.
Yeah.
So
I almost feel like they should have just did 2 set teams that you play every single year, which I believe ours would have been probably, if they did it that way, it'd be Georgia, Tennessee. Is like that's the 2 teams that we play. But even then, you're right. It just keeps switching back and forth. But with a 9-game schedule, I also saw that you're going to have to play, that an SEC team is going to have to play either a Big 12, a Big 10, ACC. Is that it? I can't. They got to play one of the other top conferences. So does Florida State count as that for us? Or do we have to add another one? How does that play out? Because know we're never going to lose Florida State. I mean, at least hope not.
Right. Yeah, that's something Florida's done anyway. So Florida State, the Florida State rivalry takes care of that.
Right.
So it's just for those other schools in the SEC that don't have that in-state at a conference opponent.
Right.
They're trying to set it up where, okay, well, you don't have that already set up, so now you got to go out and schedule that.
Right. That's why I was kind of curious about that, because I saw that question asked, like, does Florida State count as that for us? Because I'm like, all right, perfect. We have that. I am a big fan of playing more SEC teams. I want to see more of like us playing a Mizzou. I want to get back to playing the Vanderbilts. I wish we could play Vanderbilt this year. I want to see this D-line get after Diego and them guys just to see, because he's a mobile quarterback. Are you still here? I think I lost you. Let me see. Sorry, everybody. Give me just a minute. Let's see if we can.
Oh.
Are you there?
I think we're back. Yeah, I think we're. What the issue is, I don't have this ever happened to me. So.
No, it's okay. No worries at all. But no, I was just like basically saying that, like, I want to see us play like Vanderbilt again. Like, us not playing them this year is such a weird thing. Because I grew up that was honestly a W on the schedule.
Here. I'm gonna try to fix something right quick.
Okay.
Let me see if it makes a difference.
Okay. Let's see what some of these comments are saying. Honestly, Swag, I wouldn't mind adding in Alabama. I mean, back in the day, watching the games when Bama came to the Swamp and then we went to Bama, I would be cool with, and we're going to get those games. I just don't think that they should be a set in stone team, because it's just not in SEC rivalry that we have. Let's see.
All right, I'm back.
Back? All right, there we go. But no, so yeah, going back to, I was just saying, like, the Vanderbilts, like, I want to go back to playing, even if they became one of ours, I would be okay with it, because they're a team every single year. I mean, I'll be 100% honest with you, that was the game. I've been to more Florida versus Vanderbilt games than any game that there is. Just because we knew going to that game that was going to be a win. I wish we could play him this year, honestly. I'd love to see this D-line go against, Diego Pavia. But it's going to be fun. Like you said, I think it's a great thing, because I want to play more SEC teams. I want to see Florida versus Oklahoma. Let's get that, let's get that in the mix.
And that was one team that was rumored when this was floated about a couple of years ago, that Oklahoma was going to be a permanent for Florida. And I was just like, that got so much blowback. And I think rightfully so. I do want to play them. I don't know if I want to play Oklahoma every year.
No.
I think they'll go back to the drawing board with this. But, we'll see what the college football playoff model is too. I think that's going to go a long way in deciding, are there AQs, and you get 4 automatic qualifiers. And at that point, a lot of people were saying, well, why do you schedule out of conference games then? If strength of schedule, it's not going to matter. Right. It's just automatic qualifiers. It's only going to go by conference standings anyway. So go schedule whoever you want to play at a conference. It doesn't. Out of conference games almost become exhibition games. Right. There might be one at-large spot that you might be fighting for.
Right.
But honestly, the big out of conference game, go ahead and schedule them. They're not going to matter, and if you get automatic qualifiers out of a conference, out of your conference standings, so go ahead and schedule these big games. If you win, okay, it might be great for you if it comes down to an at-large bid at the end of it, but it's really not going to hurt you in the grand scheme of things. So go ahead and schedule these big games and give us these big games out of conference. And I hate that in a way because I am the college football fan that thinks regular season should matter a whole lot.
Me too.
If you're going to sit here and tell me games don't matter, then that is a sidebar of this. But if that's the route we're going, I say make the best of it.
Right.
So schedule these big games. They may not matter as much, but the conference games are going to matter. And yeah, it's 4 spots. And yeah, the conference knows they're getting 4 spots, but you don't know who. We don't know who till the games are played. So the games are still going to matter. And I love this idea of this whole play-in conference championship weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do with 1 and 2. I don't think 1 and 2 should have to go through it. I don't know if 1 and 2 play each other, which I'm fine with, and the winner of that gets the 1 seed. And I don't know how you penalize the loser though. That's the crazy thing because they still got to get in somehow. But let 3 play 6 and let 4 play 5, and those are some great games I think on conference championship weekend. Make extra home games for those 4 teams that have to play. You still have your championship game in Atlanta, 1 versus 2. And maybe something happens to that second team. But so that's what I'm saying. At that point, you've got to put something on that game, though. Yeah, you maybe you get a bye, or something like that. You can't have, all right, we'll have 1 versus 2 play each other because we just need a conference championship game. But it doesn't really matter. Because both teams get in anyway. Yeah, they should, but there should be something at stake, on that your quote unquote SEC championship game. But I love the idea, since there is going to be some schedule imbalance of 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, and then you take your winners, and that's how you make up your 4 teams or your automatic qualifiers.
I like that idea too. See, I think a big thing is that with this, the problem with college football right now is if you are a diehard, like if you love it just like I do, like you do, anyone that's in here watching this right now loves it just as much. The college football committee is going to have to come together. They're going to have to put their foot down. They're going to have to say, this is what it is, and this is what it's going to be. And they're going to have to just stop. I get it. You got to iron it out. But at some point, you're going to either have to stand on it and die by it or stand on it and thrive. Like there's just, you got to go one way because every single year, because right now you got people like Lane Kiffin saying, well, I want to skip the conference game. Yeah. I don't want to do the conference game because I want to get the bye. And how do you fault him for saying that? Because Ohio State goes and wins the national championship last season. So, and then you got Notre Dame who doesn't even have one.
Yep.
And they get into it. So I feel like a big thing with it is you got to put your foot down. You have to set yourself in there and say, okay, this is what it's going to be. However it's going to be, whatever the format is. I like automatic bids, but like you said, there's got to be something that shows why those people are there. But I guess the other thing is, one other question I have with it going into the playoffs, do you think that we should go back to the BCS style where it's computer generated, or are you okay with the committee? Because I have an opinion on it, but I want to see what yours is.
So if you go this AQ route, there's no need for a committee, and there's no need for a BCS.
True.
Your conference standings are what makes up your bracket. So if the SEC gets 4, the Big Ten gets 4, there's 8. ACC gets 2, there's 10. Big 12 gets 2, there's 12.
Okay. So
then you got to get that won't be the format if they stay at 12. They're going to have to do something, because those are all AQs. But do they only give 1 AQ to the ACC and 1 AQ to the Big 12? That opens up, I guess, 1 spot for the group of 5 and 1 at large.
Okay.
I don't see those conferences agreeing to 4 for SEC and Big 10 and only 1 for the Big 12 and the ACC. So I think that's why it's going to get probably expanded to 16 teams.
Right.
And then so you get your like I said, 4 and 4, so that's 8. 2 for the ACC, that's 10. 2 for the Big 12, that's 12. A group of 5, there's 13. Notre Dame is 14. So then 2 at large. So for your at large, that's where your committee comes in. That's where your BCS will come in.
Right.
I'm all for, just give me the BCS. I don't need a committee. We'll see what kind of formula they come up with. But a lot of this hinges on how many teams are going to be in it as well. But either way, I think I'm all for getting rid of the committee. So the AQ model is going to get rid of them mostly anyway because the conference standings will take care of the playoff teams. Or if there is some at-large bids, just give me the BCS to go along to figure that out.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the committee. I'm very big on that. Everyone's going to have their own opinions, and I get it. They're like, well, they put the best teams in or this. Okay, I understand that you say that, but these are real humans with real opinions that there's a reason that they are in a college football committee is because they're fans of football. They didn't just go grab Joe Schmo off the street and go, hey, come in here and help us decide what we should do. They got to know football. They got to know strength of schedule, and those people had opinions at one point of who their favorite team was. And not that I look at it in a manipulative way that they're like, but for me, example, you put me in there and there's a chance that Florida is right there on the brink of getting in. I promise you I'm going to fight tooth and nail to get them in.
Right.
And that's why I'm just like the BCS, I get it. People didn't like it. There were teams that were running up scores so they had a better outlook to this computer. But that's what it was. I mean, if you can't stop them from scoring, that's on you at that point. But when it comes to a committee, they don't care about that. That's where the hard part is. When it's a computer generated, and who knows even if that's the right way. But like you said, the automatic qualifiers, I think that is the end all be all that ends up being the best for this sport. And what we need, I want to see a 16-team playoff, put the best games out there. And honestly, anything that gets me more college football, I'm all for it.
Yeah. So one thing about the BCS, though, this is where it would have got it wrong recently. If we'd have had a BCS in the 4-team era, FSU probably still would have been in.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, in 2023, because it's not going to take into account the Jordan Travis injury.
You're right. I take it all back. I like the committee. You're right. I take it all back.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways of looking at it there.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, because they're not going to. No, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't use 1 year as a blip, so I would probably still lean the BCS, but because the computer has no idea Jordan Travis is hurt.
You're right.
No idea.
But you changed my mind. One sentence. Yep. That's all you had to say. You had to just bring up the FSU was getting in. We're good. Get me out. I'm all right with the committee. And I do think that does play a big part in it. And I get it that 1 year. I do think that you saw, and it's hard. I have friends who are FSU fans, and when you look at it, I get there's players that didn't play when they played Georgia. I don't care. I think that it would have been the same outcome if they wouldn't played anybody in that college football playoff. Without Jordan Travis, they're going to get smacked.
Yeah.
But then again, you have the committee that put TCU in there, and they go get the same outcome in Georgia. So it's tough, man. And I think you're right. The automatic qualifier is the way you have to go. Like, you have to go that route, because if you don't, you get these arguments every single year.
And apparently that's what the SEC wanted at one time, though. The SEC wanted 5 automatic qualifiers and then 11 at-large spots. That was what the SEC's first proposal was. So you get your 4 conference champs. That was 4 of the AQs, and then I think it was either a group of 5 or Notre Dame for that for the 5. And then the other 11 were at large. So that's that. Man, that would have been some ugly conversations going on for 11 at-large teams. So it was some would have been easy to figure out, but I can guarantee you those final 3 spots, it just would have been some crazy discussions to be behind the doors with.
Right. And I think I get it, and it's hard because we've always known it this way, but I feel like the NCAA has to step in, and you got to force Notre Dame into a conference. Throw them in the Big Ten. I could see them in the ACC because they've run ACC schedules, but if they go to the ACC, they will. I mean, it's going to be like they're an independent anyways. They will run that conference. But I feel like it is tough because they didn't have that extra conference game. They're able to heal up. They're able to, protect their bodies. But I feel like you have to step in and put them somewhere. You got to put them somewhere that they have a conference game. And I don't care really where it is.
Especially in this new model this year. Mm-hmm. Now, as you said, they don't have a conference title game. And now, since they reformatted it because of the seeding issues last year, Notre Dame can earn a bye.
Yep.
So, no conference championship game. They can earn a bye. Now, they might hurt them. Dan Lanning was not a fan of the big window Oregon had off last year.
Right.
So, maybe that hurts Notre Dame because they lose some of their momentum or mojo. But also, that is an advantage that they probably would be almost a month without playing a game.
Yeah. I think at that point, you got to schedule, go grab another team from right down the road. I don't care if it's a JUCO and play them real quick or something. Just to keep the juices flowing. Yeah, I don't know what you do there. I really don't, and I'm really glad that I'm not a part of picking that. Just let me sit back, and I'm just going to keep enjoying college football. Before I let you get off here, I have to ask. I need a breakout player from you.
Okay. For
offense and a breakout player from defense.
I will hit this on Gators Breakdown Monday as well, but if you're listening to this, you'll get a preview of that. Will and I would do our kind of season previews the Monday before the season. Offense, I'm going to go only because of, well, not only because I'm high on him anyway, but since Dallas Wilson's been kind of dinged up a little bit, I'm going to go Vernell Brown III. I think he was probably in line to break out along with Dallas Wilson anyway. And Dallas Wilson probably could down the road as well. But I think we'll see it because of who Florida plays, but also because he's really good. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for a true freshman like Vernell Brown III to get the ball against Long Island, to get the ball versus USF. And I think he's going to make something with it, and he'll just continue on throughout the season. So I'll pick him because I think we'll get to see it early and often. I think Dallas Wilson's going to miss the first couple of games. So I think Vernell's going to have plenty of chances as a true freshman and on special teams as well. So I think, VB3, I'll go him for offense. And then defense, buying into camp hype can get you in trouble. But I'm buying all the hype. I'm buying all the stock. It's going to be Jaden Woods. Jaden Woods is going to be the breakout guy for defense. I don't think that's anybody pulling anybody's leg. I don't think that's something that's not really happening. They're trying to talk somebody up. Nah, Jaden Woods is that dude. So I think he's going to be the breakout guy for me. And JB, it's funny because it's kind of hard to pick breakout guys this year, kind of going to our first point, because this team is established. There's not a lot of opportunity for breakout. As there has been in years past. So I think you almost have to go the freshman route because a lot of these guys, we kind of already know who they are. Now, could you go LJ McCray if he was healthy? Sure. Could you go Tank Hawkins and TJ Abrams on offense still? Yeah, you can. But I do think because of what we've just been hearing from these true freshmen, I'm going true freshman route for breakout players.
No, I like that a lot. I think when I'm speaking on kind of the breakout player, I think because it's easy to say the Tyreek Stapps, it's easy to say the DJ Lagways, but I guess more so going into next season, who is it going to be that in Lagways already got the hype, but who is it going to be that's going to be alongside him that they're going to go this is he's going to be winning awards, he's going to break records. See, for me, KD Daniels on offense, I think everyone's going to learn his name. He's got that lightning quick speed that I think that he can break. When he touches the ball, I think he's going to make the most of it. Him, and then even Aiden Mizell on the offensive side. I think that Aiden Mizell and Lagway have a connection that we haven't fully got to see yet. But I think when it does break out, I think that's going to end up it might be his guy. Yeah. But on defense, I've been back and forth between Aaron Gates and Cormani McClain, but I am very, very big on Aaron Gates, and I think that he's the next DB at Florida to wear one. Okay. he could switch this season, but I think next season he will be rocking the 1. I'm just like,
I don't think Tyreek Sapp's going to allow that 1 jersey to be wore this year.
yeah, that's true. That's true. He did put his foot down on that. I think you kind of have to listen. I'm listening to someone that looks like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no one's wearing 1. It's good. It's good.
I love the Cormani pick. I hope it's Cormani. And me not naming him is not me saying I don't think it will be.
Right.
Like I said, I went more true freshman route with it. But yeah, I think if you're going somebody who has played and has been on the team, he would be my pick for defense.
Right.
Yeah. So certainly, yeah, there. On offense, for somebody who's already played as well, I'll go Mizell. I think so too. Like I said, I went true freshman route, but if we want to go somebody who you have seen but you're still waiting to break out, I'll go with you. I'll go with you on those guys.
Yeah. Aiden Mizell, I think, has shown splashes of it.
Yeah.
And I know that he's dealt with a little bit of getting dinged up and things like that. But I feel like that's the crazy thing. You said it perfect. When it comes to this team, it is hard to pick a breakout player because, especially for us, that's why it's like such a fun question to ask because there's so many that you could pick from. That's why I kind of tell people, I'm like, don't pick the Saps, don't pick the Lagways.
Yeah, right.
Let's see how deep we can get into it.
They broke out last year. You can't pick them again. Yeah,
they already did it. So if they break out like even more, I'm happy with it. Trust me.
Right. But to me, those guys have already broken out.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'll let you get off here. Again, I know we talked about it at the beginning, but for the people that weren't here, let them know where they can find you, follow you.
Yep. Find Gators Breakdown on YouTube, or you can subscribe there, your favorite podcast platform as well, and then at Gator Dave _ on the socials, but mainly on X, of course, and just ready for the season to get going.
So ready for this season. Like I cannot wait. I'm gonna let everybody know while you're on here. I will be at the Florida LIU game. I'm gonna have some t-shirts, some podcast t-shirts, and I'm gonna have a hat. So when you get to Gainesville, message me, whatever. We're gonna have somewhat of a tailgate. It's gonna be me and my family. Come find me and I'll get you a shirt. If I don't have your size, don't take a shirt. Just let me know and I'll make sure to get you your size that fits you. And that way someone else can get a shirt. But I'll have a few of those to give out. But yeah, no, I appreciate all of you in the comments hanging out. Appreciate you coming on with me, Dave.
Yeah, man.
And yeah,
welcome to this crazy podcast world, my friend.
Yeah, I'm honestly happy to be here. I've talked about it for way too long about starting this, and now that I'm here, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fully invested, fully ready to go. And so yeah, I appreciate you. But before we get off here, everyone knows how we end it. You guys know how it goes. If you ain't a Gator, y'all know the rest.
Gator bait.
Yes, sir. Let's see this.